I've observed some very disturbing and alarming behavior with today's children, uh, and how they interact with their mothers, more particularly or specifically. I would say that I've seen this behavior over the past 2 decades. Sad to say, 20 years approximately. And this behavior is nothing uh, uh, more than, I call it, very atrocious behavior, for lack of a better word. There's a lot of adjectives that I could use. I can say that it is unacceptable, which it is not acceptable. And I can say that it is very disrespectful, which it is. And just cutting to the chase, I'm talking about children that talk back to their mothers. I'm going to leave dad out of this for the moment. But this is what I have seen the norm to be. God help us all. I hate to use that expression, norm, but it is. Now, it runs the gamut across the whole spectrum of ethnicities, but I see it a lot with black children, so called black, African Americans, if you will, and Caucasian as well, and some Asian. But from my own personal experience, it's been black folks. And it's targeting, for the most part, the mom. I've seen guys curse at their mothers, call them bitches, and all kinds of other uh, deploring and demeaning words and or terms and expressions they use. But the real sad part, and it's all sad, but the real sad thing is to see the girls, the young ladies, the teenagers, and even the middle aged ladies talking back to their mother or their mothers, the very ones that brought them into this world, cursing them out, calling them bitches and hoes and all other kinds of things and so forth. And this is your mother. So the question is, why? Why do girls, young ladies, teenagers, curse out and curse at their mothers? Why do they call them all types of names? And in many instances, they're still living at home with mom. They're not paying any bills. They don't have a place of their own. Some of them have their boyfriends or whomever sleeping over, and they're doing what they're doing. They're having sex and so forth. And the mom feels oftentimes that her hands are tied. Oftentimes, mom becomes so stressed. As a result, she really is in denial. You ladies are in denial. Many of you that are listening to me right now, so much so that you want to try to take the blame away from yourself and put it somewhere else. I don't know whatever happened to her. Ever since her father was locked up, she started behaving this way. When grandmama died, she begins to disrespect me and so forth. I don't know. When I was separate from her for 2 or 3 years, because I had to go to jail or because I was addicted to alcohol or addicted to drugs or what happened, and I was in rehab and she had to stay with a relative. This is why she's where she's at. Stop making excuses, ladies. I'm not saying that there are not some legitimate excuses why your daughters could be upset with you, maybe even hold some resentment or even be angry with you still because of something that happened in the past. But can we say communication? Can we say skill set? And that skill set being the one of communication skills. Maybe it's because you never knew how to raise a child. Did you ever think about that? Maybe it's because you were the same way when you were a child. Maybe you talked back to your mom and your grandmother, and maybe even your father or even men in your lives. And your daughter has patterned herself after you because you were the example around. You were the same gender. Monkey see, monkey do. Daughter sees you disrespect dad in the house. She disrespects dad. She disrespects any man for that matter. And as she gets older and she gets into a relationship, maybe have a baby, maybe not have a baby, she disrespects that man in her relationship. Even if it's a good man, even when it is a good man, she disrespects him as well. She talks back to him. She doesn't want to come halfway and have a harmonious relationship with that person in her life. She's always at odds with that individual, at odds. Why is that, mom? Let's face it. Could it be because you never did your job? Could it be because you never knew what your job was or how to operate within that job? Could it be, mom, because you have been damaged and in turn you've damaged your daughter? Were you the example of that which was good before her eyes? Or were you the exact opposite? You see, there's really no excuse. I know. Many of us, we've had children at very young ages, oftentimes when we were still children ourselves, psychologically still children. We never really grew up. And you can't give your children something that you don't have. If you never had a good role model before you, guess what? You can only give your child what you have experienced and what you have been taught yourself. Nothing more than that. However, there is hope for some of you, maybe even many of you. And it's simply this. Take heed to what I'm saying to you right now. If you still have very young children, boys and girls, and more specifically, in this particular video, I'm focusing on the young ladies. If you still have young daughters that are around 5, 6, 7 years old, 8 years old, which is the most formidable years of a child's life, that is when they become who they are, for the most part. That is when their personality is pretty much settled as to who they are. Very impressionable all the way up until that point. If you have children within that age range, there's really a lot of hope right now. You need to get on it as I'm speaking to you. Start being a mom. Being a mom is not just the woman that brought them into the world through your womb. That's not being a mom. That's nature. Being a mom is being a responsible adult that is accountable for giving your children, even in the absence of a father, in some instances, and unfortunately many instances in the African American community, if it happens to be someone that's black. So just because there's no father there, no, you can't replace the father, because you both offer two different things, two different sets of skills, two different realities that all of your children need from both parents. But I'm talking to you moms right now. You can't be a father, but you can be a hell of a mother. And how you do that is go to some older women that have successful relationships, that have children that have not gone astray, that are even working mothers, or women who have retired from a job, women who have a purpose in life, women who are doing relatively well. Look at them, talk to them, let them mentor you as to how you can be a better mom. Ask them what they did to raise up their children. Tell them what you're going through. Tell them that you have a child that is disobedient, a child that doesn't want to follow instruction, a child that talks back to you. Tell them this and ask them how did they get through it and what it is that they can give you in terms of some guidance to make your situation better, or your relationship with your child or children better. Do that. And what you should not do is hang around people who are just like you at the moment, at the present, who have no clue. If you're around another woman whose children are cursing her out, or her daughters are talking back to her and calling her bitches and hoes and all other kinds of things, why would you use that individual as an example? That makes two of you that are miserable. Sometimes you have to detach yourself from negativism and find something positive, someone positive that's going to enrich your lives, ladies. That's what it's all about. It hurts sometimes letting go your past or your past relationships or your past friendships, even if it's just for a moment, sometimes permanently. But you got to do it if you really care about your children. So I'm sorry if your children are cursing you out, talking down to you, saying that you are, excuse my expression, a piss poor mother, you was never a good mother, and all of these other things. They're saying it, and it's coming from a place of pain. And oftentimes that place of pain is the result of you not giving them what they needed all along. And that was guidance. You see, they don't necessarily listen to everything that you say, but they do copy what they see you do. If you tell them not to do a particular thing and not to go a certain direction in life, they're not really hearing you until they see you doing it. And then, believe it or not, they will follow. But you have to remain steadfast and relentless in this journey, because at the end of the day, you're fashioning another human being, one that will fail in life or succeed in life. And remember that the majority of all of our children's education begins at home, not abroad. This is Brother Teacher. Ladies, I encourage you to try and be the best mom that you can possibly be. But sometimes you have to add some more tools to your tool belt, because what you have been doing is not enough, apparently. Because if it was, then your children wouldn't be in the situation that they are in today. Stop trying to be your children's friend. You are their mother. You are their parents. And that's it. It's only one side that they see. That's the authority. Love them at the same time. Sometimes it has to be tough love. It's just that simple. This is Brother Teacher. I'm out.